Over dichters, hooggeacht publiek, doen veel praatjes de ronde. Van zuivere waarheden via sappige roddels tot flagrante leugens. Zo zouden zij, ik noem maar wat, de grootste romantici en beste minnaars ter wereld zijn. Enfin, toch in de nachten dat zij niet laveloos aan een toog hangen en starend in hun alweer lege glas zitten te treuren om de teloorgang van... Nou ja, om de teloorgang. Die is op zich al erg genoeg. Om van de doodstrijd van de poëzie nog niet te spreken. Tegenwoordig zouden er bijvoorbeeld meer mensen zijn die poëzie schrijven dan mensen die poëzie... meer mensen zijn... Ik ben even mijn draad kwijt. Tegenwoordig zouden er bijvoorbeeld meer mensen zijn die gedichten schrijven dan mensen die gedichten lezen. Dus een flagrante leugen, dat laatste, want zie u daar eens zitten. U bent met veel meer dan 2, nochtans het aantal dichters dat ik voor u in de aanbieding heb. Nee, ik ga niet vragen of diegenen onder u die wel eens een versje plegen hun vinger willen opsteken. Jullie zijn hier, even voor de duidelijkheid, als lezers/toehoorders. U wordt verondersteld de dichters op het podium aan de boezem te drukken. Hen de teloorgang doen vergeten, al was het maar voor heel even. Zij verdienen trouwens uw warmte, dat is het minste wat ik kan zeggen. Straks mag u een jonge dichteres uit Shetland, u weet wel, bekend om de ponies, in uw hart sluiten. Maar eerst vraag ik u al uw liefde te botvieren op een wilde, ontembare Noor. 6 bundels heeft hij inmiddels op zijn naam, waarvan de eerste, nou, of de nu in het Nederlands, in 1996 verscheen. De dichter was toen 24 en de laatste, ja 19, maar dan in het Noors, Vergiftninger. Maybe you can help me out.
That's right, Vergiftninger.
19, ja, oké, 19 vergiftigingen, dus vorig jaar. Nu, uit die laatste bundel probeert hij vanavond enkele vergiftigingen in de breedste betekenis van het woord op u uit. Wees met andere woorden voorbereid op een injectie van infecties, virussen en epidemieën, van milieuvervuiling, politieke corruptie en economische uitbuiting, enfin op de hele rotzooi, zowel in concrete als in metaforische zin, zowel in het verleden als in het nu. U hoort het, dierbaar publiek, uw liefde voor de dichter zal mogelijk op de proef worden gesteld. Te meer daar zijn verzen ook bulken van de metaverwijzingen, een aanpak die hem in de Noorse media heeft opgezadeld met het imago van intellectuele dichter. En intellectueel, dat weet u ook, is tegenwoordig een van de ergste scheldwoorden denkbaar. Maar goed, u zou natuurlijk niet het Poetry International publiek zijn dat ik zo zeer respecteer, als u deze poëzie niet zou lezen zoals het hoort, op uw gevoel. In dat geval zult u niet blijven haken achter wat u niet verstaat. U zult instant de dreigende ondertoon van deze verzen voelen, de vergiftigingen langzaamaan bij u voelen binnensijpelen tot zij u de adem benemen. In het zachte, behoedzame, bezwerende Noors van deze dichter is dat trouwens geen onprettige ervaring. Neemt u dat van mij aan. Dames en heren, gooi alle twijfels en mondmaskers af en geef u over aan Nils Christian Moe-Repstad.
Første forgiftning. Ei rotte løper inn i den åpne kjeften på en alligator, fortsetter ned i magesekken og spiser de råtnende restene av en oryxkalv. Og så ut fra dette stedet, fort som faen ut fra dette stedet. Pakistan og fjellene, ingen undulater i tunnelene, bare onyxbaren med dioksider og monoxider i lungene. Granittbrudd hugges av mordere i koloniene. Jeg skjærer gjennom brostein og marmorert bein, Jeg plukker ut baren, men kirkegaten har ingen adresser for dem. Har ingen adresser for dem. Ingen er mer smittsom enn barn. Ingen er sykere enn mordere. Står det under kirkegulvet. Den brytes opp av barneknokler, og teksten åpenbares for de jublende. Men det er for sent for jubelens arkeologi. Jeg leser Kinder Totenwald og hører de sørgende føde. Jeg smitter dem med arven fra et helt hus. Med arven fra et helt hus. Min fars hus, hvor grunnmuren er ballaststein fra fullriggeren Sørlandet. Kneler du og presser øret inntil, kan du høre det er en klagemur. Det du binder på jorden, skal være bundet til himlene. Og det du løser på jorden, skal være løst i himlene. Jeg ville snakke om kongen fra Krim, 1347, under mongolenes beleiring av Kaffa, ble pestlikene katapultert over bymurene for å smitte innbyggerne. Smittede genovesiske handelsmenn seiler vestover, Konstantinopel, Sicilia, Roma, Dr. Schnabel von Rom. Tyske og engelske skip seiler vest og øst av Kristiansand. Bergen, Oslo, 1349. Alteret for Sankt Sebastian. Stavanger, 1350. Biskop Gunnar Pålsson er den siste som dør i kongeriket. Jeg kunne vært altruist som svartrotta, men Byfjorden 1991. I 23 år har jeg smittet meg selv med sykdom som et barn, med skrift for lett i hendene, for tung i voks, for steril i lys, for mørk, for stedet den kommer fra. Barn er et hardt språk når du finner det i gater, hvor kulde og husene har egenskaper. Og den forsiktige angeren er tydeligst under store, hvite vokslys. Hvorfor fikk jeg navn her, en stat og en gud her? Albaen, dåpskjolen, kalken og vannet, seilene fra tremasteren over hodene våre. Augustifolium i vinden. De presser et hvitt bomullshåndkle inn mellom kjevene mine, så jeg ikke skal gnage av meg underleppen. Menneskebitt på 250 kilo per kvadratcentimeter. Når mandibula, maxilla lå sammen, strupen lukket som en myrfiol om natten, det for sent for hypnose og bønn. These did their faces irrigate with blood, which with their tears commingled. Det enkelt. Lever du i smerten, erkjenner du smerten. Blodet som renner over haken din, blodet som redder. Men ikke før du biter av deg underleppen, det en, og bare en, som kan åpne fiolene, så du kan puste. Bjørnemyrveien, klokken 7:32. En ambulanse fra et av byhospitalene. De journalfører opiatforgiftningen. Trekker opp melkehvit stesolid og spør om jeg ser fyllriggeren på fjorden. Mastene, vinden i hvite seilene, myrullen, myrulls letthet. Vinden, og alle steder gode steder, og sovne med vinden, augustvinden. Andre forgiftning. En linje vann renner over vinduet, som en gjentagelse av hvordan verden blir ny i religionene. Det minner om fugler. En linje vann renner over vinduet. Det minner om fugler. De flyr hvite, setter seg i slyngplantene som dekker hagesiden av betonghusene. Og kunne aldri ha funnet sin roman. I poesien fuglene hvite og skaper verden i en bølgende bevegelse. Syrinen, blomsterengen, brisen. Sangen ikke den samme om vinteren, når hvite laken tørker i sola. Og fuglene blir grønne, som olivenkvisten som fikk Noah til å slutte å drikke. Den 17. dagen i den 7. måneden ble arken stående på Araratfjellene. Verden ny, Noah ny, og tenker ikke på febertoktene, krampene, kvalmen som kommer med bråavvenning. I prosaen fuglene grønne og skaper verden når vinen flyter. Når vannstanden synker, har Noah 39 i feber. Og siden han har gått på fylla og levd så tett på dyra, er det utviklet en mutasjon. Noah er et virus, 3 til 5 dager, og alle menneskene i arken. Alle menneskene i arken har 39 i kroppstemperatur. Også lufttemperaturen stiger 2 grader. 2014, en arkeologisk ekspedisjon gjør geofysiske undersøkelser i Arvatfjellene. Avleser et omriss, en båtlignende form i leie etter den 3. gammeltestamentlige elva Hiddekel. Vi mener vi har funnet arken og flere relevante gjenstander, blant annet mengder av amforaer som en gang inneholdt vin. Ti til 12 dager senere begynner arkeologenes kroppstemperatur å stige 15 til 20 dager, og lufttemperaturen på Aratsletten øker. I en delvis forseglet amfora ble det funnet levende sporer av virus, og biologene og virologene sier naturen og menneskekroppen er nå et ekstracellulært fenomen. Det er virusets lysogene syklus. Lysogene syklus. Stripen av vann over vinduet mitt kan bli Strandgatens største fossefall. Slyngplantene vil bre seg, hele fasader forsvinne. Vannet trekker inn i mikroskopiske luftbobler i betongen og sprenger husene innenfra. En tålmodig implosjon. Filosofer, spåmenn, matematikere, virologer, teologer, geologer, astronomer, fysikere, etnologer, arkeologer, ingeniører, medisinere, økologer, værprofeter og teknologer. Verden er en annen verden. Kroppen en annen kropp. Dagen går sakte mørkt, men det lyser fra soverom ut i bakhagene. Menneskene er sløve av feber, men bevisst tidligere ubevissthet om natur. Ennå skifter årstidene. De hvite fuglene, de grønne fuglene. Menneskekroppens febertilstand er konstant. 13. forgiftning. Den gamle staten den nye staten, med hvite duker på bordene og kortterminal blant horene. Først netten i Ukraina, så dagene på de karibiske øyene, hvor pengene siles gjennom barneselskaper, som hvalene sluker tonn av krill og siler vannet gjennom bardene. Lovene karibiske, de produserer tynne linjer i sanden og blir borte. Kan du ordne en posisjon for meg i St. Petersburg, spør Tsjekhov. Der snakker de om utryddelsen av skogene, og duellerer over løsunger og gifte kvinner. Det varmt og grønt i parkene. Fra Moskovskij-stasjonen går togene så langt nordøst at man husker opprøret og nedslaktingen, betongruiner og trepalassene ved det svarte havet. Hvalene fyller lungene med luft som danner plasma i dypet. Adelslinjene rette, men adelen politisk og har hvallunger. Hvallunger så dypt i systemene at det ble riktig å duellere over bastardøkonomiens renhet. De plasmatiske rettssakene og giftmord med nummer i grunnstofftabellen. De jo umenneskelige i de østlige republikkene, i det fossile og alle nordlige hav. De elsker sine fedre så høyt at hjernen min mykner, og jeg selger kroppens reserver av metangass. Og duellene for bratt i trappene i Odessa, for åpent på de balkanske slettene, for varmt i St. Petersburg, Saint-Tropez, der gassprinsessen, plasma og paradis, det protest, flagg og frost. Diktator inn gjennom koøyer. Femtende forgiftning. Jeg sitter i den uverdige stolen, jeg legger tabletter under tungen og leser aksjekurser på gyllent papir. Jeg vet at kvalmen kommer, at den fysisk, som vektene de løfter i rommet over. 7000 kalorier i døgnet, og hva faen vatvarebørsene? Jeg tenker heller ikke Bayer, Lundbeck, GSK, men biter meg i tungen den plutselige smerten, minner om tap, store tap, som i krigene. Det borgerkrigene, blodsmaken og virkestoffene som penetrerer lingualvenen? Det kvalmen, den fysiske kvalmen, det klinker i jernvekter. Jernet som en gang ble hentet ut av myrene. Pass deg for vannhullen i fattigmyra. Vannhullene i fattigmyra. Reinsdyrhorn stikker ut av svarte søppelsekker i april, og jeg forstår tjuvjaktens historie. Jeg forstår tjuvjaktens historie. Under krigen senkte vi jaktvåpen ned i sølehullene. Ned i sølehullene for å skjule og bevare dem. Ned i sølehullene for å skjule og bevare dem. I arkeologien er det moselikene. Jeg har drukket vann fra disse myrene, og kjenner tarmbevegelsen, trykkbølgen opp i halsen, høyere, lavere, høyere, høyere, som grafer for råolje, palmeolje. Jeg teller 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Den neste bølgen, den største bølgen. Sjøfuglene gulper opp lightere, flaskekorker, nylonrep, trålgarn, plastbestikk og Barbie-dukkehoder til de nyutklekkede ungene. Det er de døde måkene som skylles opp. Ungene flyr aldri fra reirene. Det er bunnen av Nordsjøen, korallørkener, slamsletter, fiskefjell som råtner. Det er toppen av Nordsjøen, spillolje, rust, derivater, stålskrog som slår. Det er den sakte nedbrytingen. Den sakte nedbrytingen. Munnhulen fylt med vann. Jeg bretter avisen og holder den opp mot underleppen. Nice, Hang Seng, LSE, Nikkei, FSE. Jern mot jern, tyngre, nesten som kirkeklokkene. Nesten som kirkeklokkene. I de lengste krigene, de fortidige, fremste krigene. Thank you very much.
Mr. Moe-Repstad, after your reading on Wednesday night, you became instantly famous here in Rotterdam because you read really breathtaking, so congratulations.
Thank you.
Now I know it's true.
I thought I was famous from before.
No, it happened Wednesday, I'm sorry.
Okay. If you say so.
During the reading, and also in the collection, of course, 19 Poisonings, you cordially invite us into the stable of August. The collection deals with infections, viruses, epidemics, with pollution, political corruption, economic exploitation. Oh dear, what a disappointment, because I've never been in Norway, but I thought Norway was like paradise on earth, a country full of lakes and fjords and glaciers and woods. Was I, and handsome Vikings, of course. Yeah. Was I misinformed?
About the handsome Vikings, you're of course right, but okay, Norway is yeah, it's sort of paradise. It's safe, and there's a lot of money, and safe place to live, good place to live. But even there, it's cracks of all the different things you said. But Norway is also a part of the world, you know, and I'm not writing for Norway. I'm not actually a political writer at all, but. What I wanted with this book was to find a metaphor for where I could talk about all these things, because you can almost get sweaty because there's quite a lot of themes going on in this book, but I needed a metaphor for all of them. And then the poisoning came, because a poisoning is something that you need an outside source to get. An infection is something else. Yeah. An infection can come by itself. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, well, I got a bit worried because, you know, we see all those Scandinavian television series, and there's also a lot going on. There's always someone gone missing or killed or dying. So I thought, they don't get enough sunlight up there. But
no, we don't get enough. It's quite depressing in winter.
But
we have houses, so.
Okay. Yeah. Good to hear. Good to hear.
We're from the Vikings, but we have houses.
Okay, good to hear. Yeah. I was worried, but you're fine then. Yeah. Now, in the collection, by hopping from past to present and back, hopping as well from one place to another, you seem to insinuate that what people have done in the past affects us today, and what people do in one place affects people in other places. Are we, the way we live now, people from the 21st century, short-sighted? Too much concentrated on now and here?
It's we're supposed to learn from history, but we never do. But I insist never the same to use history and poetry. In poetry, you can go from the Neolithic to modern in a couple of sentences, and that's what's great about poetry. You can create these big spaces, and
a time machine.
You could write an epic poem in 3 lines. No?
A lot of freedom in poetry.
Yeah, it is. But also you can set boundaries for yourself, and then that can be freedom in itself. We have a lot of forms like sonnets and
love poems, whatever. 19 poisonings. I wonder why 19? Is 19 like a devilish number?
Oh, it's quite simple, really. It's 19 poems in this book.
Yeah, well, I know that.
So, and there's one poisoning for every 19 poems.
So you were done after 19.
Yeah. My publisher didn't like 17, and I didn't like 20. the number. So, but 19, I said 19 is a good number.
Sounds like a number of the beast. It's good. It's good. Yeah. Well, 19 was of course also the age when you got injured in a diving accident. Yesterday I welcomed here at the
I hadn't
stage.
seen that one actually.
Yeah.
19. It was good.
I see strange things everywhere. So yesterday I welcomed another poet here at the same stage, and there was one line in his biography, the fact that he was born in an Aboriginal reserve, defined and determined actually his entire work. Would you say that this one line in your biography, the undignified chair, defines you as a poet?
Not at all, actually. I try to separate between these things, but and always in interviews and things, I try to separate between this thing that happened to me a very long time ago. But when I wrote my last book, Theory of the Singular, which is also
translated into English.
Yeah, but it's published as a record. But it's a limited edition box with a couple of books in. But in Theory of the Singular, I wanted to write a book which contradicted the literary trend that was sort of going on, at least in Norway or the Nordic countries, with writing very your own biography, like almost personal. I don't know if you heard of Karl Ove Knausgård, My Struggle. Maybe someone has. At six books on 1,000 pages about himself. But at least I wanted to make a very clean book, almost like mathematical, and skip all these emotions and down to natural science. Yeah. And the thing that happened when I wrote this book, that suddenly I saw a way into my own biography by using medicine as a science, and after that it just poured out to me. It was like I shouldn't compare myself to Ginsberg, but Ginsberg's howl was pouring out of him, he said, in 3 weeks. And it felt almost like that, even it was a bit longer because it's a 50-page long poem in one go. But it was a book I was never thinking about writing. I was against this, and I ended up with a double book. But it did good. So.
Okay, now you got rid of it. Well, it's
but I've never seen poetry as some. I'm not very fond of poetry in this as a what can I say, as something you write to get rid of things, or something your own psyche.
Therapeutic, you mean?
Yeah. I don't like therapeutic literature. That was what
that
I was
the
about
word
to say.
you were looking for.
Yeah.
No, it's well, now you're famous since Wednesday, but you know, when I prepared the questions, not yet. So we can't find so much on you on internet, well, a lot, many pages in Norwegian. In my previous life, I spoke fluently Norwegian, but not this life. So the only thing we can find are those couple of lines, of course. And they say that you were a thrill-seeking person, you wanted to become a mountaineer. So then one wonders, is poetry a thrill-seeking experience as well?
Absolutely, absolutely.
A way to jump so high that you become weightless, to soar with the eagles?
Yeah, so literature in itself and reading, for instance, boring theory can give me enormous amount of pleasure. Yeah. So literature is a fantastic thing. I was when this accident happened to me, I was on my way down. I was if this hadn't happened, something else would have. So actually, you can say that I had a certain interest for literature before I got this injury, but I seem to get back to this almost like cliche about the romantics that said that something bad had to happen to you before you could be like Weltschmerz. So, yeah. But I sort of, when I have been now a writer for 20 years, I can look back and say that, okay, it started there. It started there.
Great, literature as life-saving medicine.
Yeah.
In Norwegian media, you've been...
Not therapeutic, yes.
No, life-saving. In Norwegian media, you've been called an intellectual poet, and that I find as well, and quite an insulting nickname nowadays, as, you know, intellectual as in demanding a lot from the reader. Are you?
No, I don't think so.
It's now your time to defend yourself.
Yeah, no, I don't think so, because I see there's two ways of reading. There's one when you go deep or into the analytical reading, and there's also intuitive reading, which I find just as worthy or good as the other one. Because if you read poetry and there's a line or two that hits you in some way, I feel like I've succeeded with a poem. Yeah. So okay, there can be a lot of references and
yeah,
but you
a
can
lot
also
of meta references. That's why they call you an
intellectual
poet.
But you can also read them quite straight out in some way.
So a good manual to read your poetry would be to read with sentiment, with our feelings.
No, actually no.
No, how
I'm
then?
not aware. The feelings and poetry is
too soft,
dangerous.
too hard. Yeah.
But okay, feelings
But
also it's also included in poetry, but in smaller
with
amounts.
Intuition.
In smaller amounts, I say.
Okay, with intuition then.
Yeah.
You worked in many different music constellations.
Yeah.
Along with sound and video artists. People should really go and see that on the internet. Because the book you just mentioned, you know, with the album, we can find that on the internet. You work together with really big artists. What role does music play in your poetry?
For once, it taught me how to read poetry in this kind of way. When it's sort of I worked with for 10 years now with music, and just a year or maybe 2 years ago, I felt that I was starting to get control, starting to find a voice, and also I'm working with improvisational musicians, and the sensitivity you have to have, and you learn. I remember there was one moment when one of the musicians said to me, "Nils, you have to think like a singer when you're reading." And that was sort of a light going up. He didn't say more. You have to find it out yourself, but you have to think like a singer. And I went home and I thought about it and said, okay, I've heard that singers are breathing with their stomach, and I like where you pronounce it, if it comes from your throat or if it comes from further in your mouth. And I tried all these things, and I found that for me, the power lies in the lower balance, but it's a very narrow line, and it took very long to find it out.
Yeah, just 2 years ago you said you're slowly getting there.
Yeah.
As a young boy, you intended to become a mountaineer. It sounds like you are actually climbing mountains.
But it's not actually all true. It's not actually all true, but I just it felt good to have it on my biography. But I was really thinking of becoming a doctor, actually.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. But I was skiing rather professionally until I was like 16, 17.
Okay, and
so that's
a
true.
doctor you are after all as well, a poetry doctor.
Yeah.
Thank you, Niels.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted also to thank this festival for its level of professionalism, and I've never been to a festival that takes sound as serious as here, and it's really a tribute. I'm amazed. I've never seen it before.
Van de Noorse Niels Christian Moe-Repstad naar de volgende, geheel vrijwillig in Shetland wonende dichteres, zou een 5-tal eeuwen geleden een kleine stap zijn geweest. Vandaag mag Shetland, een subarctische archipel van Schotland, dan bij het Verenigd Koninkrijk horen. Historisch gezien viel Shetland onder de invloed van Noorwegen. Rustig maar, er is nog nooit iemand doodgegaan van een beetje geschiedenisles, zelfs niet in een Scandinavische televisieserie. En bovendien is dit echt wel een interessant wetenswaardigheidje. Het verklaart bijvoorbeeld waarom Noorwegen en Shetland naast het Up Helly A vuurfestival ook een sterke muzikale traditie delen. Met fiddles of de folkviolen. U weet hoe dat klinkt, het doet wat met een mens. Combineer nu in uw hoofd die fiddles met het Shetlandse dialect. Situeer dat te midden de Shetlandse fauna en flora weelde, met ponies en herdershonden en zo. En u krijgt dus de perfecte potgrond voor poëzie. Perfect in elk geval voor de laatste dichteres van de avond, ook al kwam zij niet in Shetland, maar in Cheshire, u weet wel, van de kaas, ter wereld als kind van een Canadese moeder en een Britse vader, en maakte zij eerst nog passages langs de universiteiten van Edinburgh en Glasgow om Engels en literatuur te studeren. Vandaag is zij echter met geen stokken meer weg te slaan uit Shetland, een oord dat, ik zei het al, bekend staat om zijn vruchtbare grond. Van de vele dichters en schrijvers die zich daar de afgelopen jaren weer hebben ontbolsterd, blijkt dat zij echter veruit de opmerkelijkste bloem is. Haar talent, originaliteit en authenticiteit ontgingen ook de literaire juries niet. Want in 2008, zij was toen 30, won ze als jongste ooit de T.S. Eliot Prize for Poetry voor haar bundel Nine No Place, waarin niet alleen Shetland, maar ook de geest van Canada waait. Een eerbetoon van heb ik jou daar, die prijs, want voor haar mochten ook grote dichters zoals Carol Ann Duffy, Seamus Heaney en Ted Hughes hem in hun vitrine zetten. En dat dus allemaal met wat je zonder haar te beledigen muzikale kampvuur onder een sterrenhemel gedichten zou kunnen noemen. Met dravende paarden, geurend gras en prevelende wind toe. Maar vergis u niet. Dit is slimme, universele, wereldse poëzie, waarin niet alleen de constante veranderingen in de natuur en de mens van nabij worden onderzocht, maar ook de taal als dusdanig, als een levend aan gedaantewisselingen onderhevig wezen, wordt benaderd en ingezet. Deze dichteres gebruikt niet alleen raadselachtige woorden uit het Shetlands, een dialect dat uit het Engels, Noors en Schots is ontpopt. Zij creëert ook zelf een nieuwe taal, een zingende zeefdruk van de gedaanteverbloesemende wereld om haar heen. Vanavond leest ze uit het vorig jaar gepubliceerde Bisses, haar derde bundel. Bisses zijn de taaie draden waarmee een mossel zich aan de bedding hecht. Of waarmee een dichteres zich dus aan Shetland hecht. Dames en heren, ik hoop van harte dat u zich op uw beurt aan deze dichteres hecht. Want hier is Jen Hadfield.
Lichen. Who listens like lichen listens? Assiduous millions of black and golden ears. You hear and remember, but I'm speaking to the lichen. The little ears prunk, scorch and blacken. The little golden mouths gape. The kids. Born too soon, Monday's child was unready to be seen and is destined to be early forever. She selected a slice of red pepper shaped like a question mark. The volcanic breath of Tuesday's child. He remembers where poetry comes from, the literal potential of things, which means he can't eat broccoli, saying it right, a tiny, indigestible oak. He eats grated cheese with a teaspoon, assisting it with a finger. The hidden's the vocation of bird-like Wednesday's child, perfecting her dust baths with sweeping boughs of pine. She can find anything hidden in the dark, as a cat finds a rabbit by the steam escaping the warren. Thursday's child says he saw Wednesday's child run so fast she began to fly. Thursday's child shall be called a liar. Friday is afraid of the suit of spades and jigsaw pieces the shape of the suit of spades. She's afraid of plug sockets, pylons, dams and flowered wallpaper. She knows what magic is, the stress we're under. Saturday's child is still growing into her eyes. lamps above her chin, a frog's eyes surfacing the muds of winter. She can't help what she does and doesn't see, salting away what she sees inside her. Sunday's child knows what blasphemy is and where the devil's grave. He makes the lovely graves of long grass and speedwell. The memory of timber. By want, as in I want you or I want to write, I mean as if the sap in the floorboards candled and began to flow, bruises freshening around the cleats and congealed grain loosening like lava around the nails and knots to Gideon lees where flower gold would gather, were floorboards a river. I want. No wonder the cat skips and shivers and stares up wildly into empty corners. The knots scorch the shirred flesh in their readiness to spout scaled limbs. The knots are the shape of sparrows' breasts, puffed up against a snow-strafed wind. I like what Nils said about not using poetry as for therapeutic purposes. But I'm also really interested in the idea that everyone carries pain around with them all the time or sometimes in their life, and that we sort of see each other through this lens or this filter. So it sort of, in some ways, it distances us from each other, this thing that we all have in common. The asterism, a mystery in a waste of pain, Annie Dillard. Inexplicable pain. You're a thing like Sirius or Aldebaran, another asterism of the first magnitude, remote incandescence, colour and heat, which degrade when I regard you with the naked eye, dazzling and extinct. When I consider all the things you are, the neglect of pain and a window of slumping glass between us and the distorted world, I wish we held you not inside, but near. Jungled in your orchid and passion flower, creepers and bromeliads of pain, we'd peer through each other's scintillate leaves. If we spoke of you at all, it was ruefully to say, if it flowered less often like a cactus, then I might look forward to its alien bloom. Still, when it dies back, I feed and pot it up. O boast, I grafted and grew a great pain last year, a scion of the original stock. This is quite a hard poem to read. I'm starting to wish I'd never written it. It's after Rabelais, and it's in that kind of epic listing style of the descriptions of King Lent. And it simply describes walking into the sea and hoping to disappear there. The ambition. The tide being out, I had to traipse through dehydrated eel grass and the chopped warm salad of the shallows, and then the Atlantic breached me part by part. If my knees knocked, it was too flint striking, my skin shagreen, my thorax a corset compressed rib by rising rib, my fingerprints finely carved trilobites of the shore, my fine motor skills as good as any butterworts, my nail beds pale flukes, lemon souls or witches, my blood a thick, slow scrawl of crude. If seals mobbed the shallows, it was only for my liver. If my kidneys complained, they were Bert and Ernie. My throat a maypole for eel grass. My retinas red rags to bulls. A raw kebab, my vertebra strung on the spinal cord. My nose and ears sympathetic remora. My pigtail a withered stipe or shaw. My moles and freckles rising spores. If I floated, it was spatchcock trussed on the swell. If I expressed myself well, it was liquids and vowels. My musculature like dispersing cirrus. My sweat glands like mud-buried lugworms. My children a cloud of clumped alphabeti. My urine a strong hot tisane. If my knuckles were cracked, it was for their chilled marrow. My lips and tongue seasoned by an infinite cruet. My sphincters the knots in a balloon poodle. My brain pan a shovel of quenched ash. My cerebellum a bait ball. The full moon the most serious in a season of crushes. My slack, my hammock. My plankton, my inattention. My ghost pots, my amnesia for names and faces. My luciferins, my name and lights. My name sticks and sinking stones. My literal, my high disclosure zone. My breadcrumb sponge, my ephemeral path home. This poem, Seps, is one of the ones which was worked on in the translation workshops this morning, and it was really enjoyable meeting the poets who are translating it. And I discovered to my delight that the Dutch word for seps is squirrel bread. This describes a mushroom that only grows in one place in Shetland at the top of Rona's Hill, which is an Arctic ecosystem and very special within Shetland, let alone elsewhere. And everything's very, very small and intricate and beautiful up there. And summer is very late. And the seps, the porcini mushroom, grows full size and improbably off the tiny roots of the least willow which crawls through the shattered rock. It's only partially about a mushroom. Seps. The going is a moonwalk over springy terraces of ice-shattered rock, riddled with Arctic scramblers, bearberry and minute mountain azalea, sunspots through fog, an occasional blaze of sea below, all battened down and buttoned up except this mushroom, like a piece of vernacular furniture, tough Droylton tree, that seems to sprout from the language of heart and hearth, massy corbel of the least willow. It's not sex I'm trying to get my head around, but what our flowering costs us. I'm afraid that in this, as ever, we live beyond our means. Who'd jut out a poem unless they were in love? The human way is ever unsustainable, whatever we make. We wax more and more outlandishly beautiful until luminous our skin splits. The scrambling twig herniates its varnished bowl. Well, yes, a gargoyle, a hard-on. The Dutch for the title of the next poem is also much more pleasing than the English. The plinky boat becomes something like the tingelboot, tinkelboot maybe. The plinky boat is a boat which is still a boat but has also become a xylophone. A pair of musicians in Shetland went up to the most northerly of all our islands and went into the school and as a school project transformed a fishing boat into a musical instrument, and it sits beside the ferry terminal in Ulston. Anyone can have a go if they want to. The plinky boat. The present is a fine line. A puff of air would destroy it. Something near to true night darkness. The children are playing the plinky boat, a xylophone made from a reclaimed yole. Built for flexibility in a coarse sea, you can tell it fledged with ease, just blushed from boat to instrument, transpiring streams of these hoarse night notes. For its copper pipes are cut to breadth exactly, so the boat's beam is its sotto voce, and 2 rills of rising pitch run into the harmonic of each honey spot, where the boards of gunnels and stem flow together. I don't know what it is about this place, that things metaflower so readily into their present selves. The instruments a boat, the notes unresonant, and scales of thin light swarm over the pipes from the boys' head torches. Perhaps we heard seals broaching in the harbour as they answered the girls' hand-clapping game. I doubt they moaned in their haunted whys. Here was everything. Words lost as I'm trying to say their echo, that yodel into past and future. The poem wouldn't exist, but we couldn't stay. And I'm just going to finish off with the malt. That hair at the beginning of the slideshow isn't me, even though it looked like it was labelled as me. It said Jen Hadfield, and then there's a picture of her hair. But the malt did begin being a poem about a hare. And then there was a confusion as I wrote the poem about whether I was speaking to the hare or the hare was speaking to me. But at any rate, the mountain hares in Shetland in the winter molt from their summer brown coats into coats of pure white, which is meant to camouflage them, only there's rarely snow, so they're blindingly obvious from a great distance, and you feel fairly bad for them. So you can choose for yourself whether you want to imagine this spoken by a person or by a hare. The malt. Stare to the sun. We can all see you. Stop picking fights above your weight. We've this high golden bowl of heather and moss and company of wops and cries and mutters in the wind and the long draught of islands and blinding sea. Shelter in the hoodoos and pluck your fur, fine smelt caught on heather and shining reeds, ruing it as I do, this flying, gleaming floss, snatched back and spent by the wind. Freeze when the sunlight hits you, you're not invisible. Scratch off your dream coat of silver money. Rest downwind in the sun. Run double-jointed when the valley dims. Thank you very much.
Mrs. Hadfield, home is where the heart is, they say. As you're obviously very hooked to Shetland, does this mean it's the place where your heart is?
Oh, well, your heart can be in many places, I suppose, but I'm a person that lives very much in the present tense, actually, and I'm in Shetland most of the time, so I am almost entirely absorbed by the place when I'm there. It's funny you should word it like that, because when you did, I immediately thought of my parents who don't stay in Shetland.
No.
I'm not from Shetland.
But there are more places that you've called home.
Of course, but
Yeah.
I suppose what I was thinking is that whenever I go and see them, the moment I see them, I realise how much I've missed them. but it's something about being in the present tense so much that it entirely fills your consciousness. And it always hits me very hard when I see people who aren't in Shetland, just because, you know, it takes your full attention in that way. But then so do they when I go and see them.
Yeah, well, I was still looking for paradise on earth, and as it wasn't Norway, I hoped it was Shetland. It appears, though, that it's a very fertile ground for artists, Shetland. Do the ponies whisper poems in your ears there, or do they put something in the tap water? What's the secret?
Well, the ponies are more likely to eat your gloves, to be honest.
Okay. But what's the secret?
Well, I don't know what the secret is at all, but I certainly do know an awful lot of musicians and artists and writers in Shetland, and people making all kinds of things. And who knows? I mean, I think I'm asked very often if I moved to Shetland to get away from everything and to live on the edge, and that certainly hasn't been my experience at all. It might have been what initially took me to Shetland to experience life somewhere that I imagined would be wild, and there is wildness there. But I don't know. I experience Shetland as a very busy centre, as a place that is continually delivering surprises. I've been there 9.5 years now. I can't decide if that's a long time or a short time, but I think when I first moved there, people expected me to get tired of the place, or that it was a phase that I would grow out of. And I just find that every year the place becomes more and more complex and more intriguing to me. And it must affect other artists that way, I think. It's got a long history of creativity, though, as many places do. So.
Okay, we'll try and find it out and visit you one day. Business is a collection about what it takes to find and forge a home. You make us believe that speech itself actually affords us a means to inhabit and merge with the landscape. Does this mean we better be careful with words? For they can change the world around us. They can poison the world around us.
Yeah, I was interested in that take on things, actually. I don't think of words so much as toxic, but definitely contagious in the sense that you were speaking about, I think. I mean, obviously contagious in that when we speak to people from different places, our accents come closer and closer together.
Yeah,
and
we assimilate, yeah.
And certainly when I moved to Shetland, I became very, very quickly besotted with the Shetland dialect. Which is really more of a language than a dialect. There's such complexity to it. It has its own grammar, and it has its own dialects within it. You know, it's an incredibly exciting place for a writer to be for that reason, because it's continually reminding you of the richness of language. What I found, as many people who moved to Shetland find, is that my voice started sounding funny, and embarrassingly, I started trying to say things in a Shetland way, but almost without having any control over that. It's worn off somewhat now, but I'm still living in this state of heightened awareness after 9.5 years of learning new words. And
well, very characteristic for language is, of course, that it's constantly transforming and changing. Just like the Shetland language has transformed a lot, because it emerged from, you told me earlier on, from English, Scottish and Norwegian.
Well, we're really from the Old Norse.
Okay, Norse. It obviously doesn't change fast enough for you, because you create your own Hadfield English. That's a very flexible language, yours. Is this the best suitable language in an unpredictable and rapidly changing world?
I think that all I can do is is write in the language that I have in my mouth, and that will necessarily change continually, as it does with everyone. I'm definitely not trying to construct a language to speak about the things I'm trying to speak about. I am trying to become fluent in my own language, and that is something of a lifelong venture, because speaking isn't that easy for me, as it isn't for many people. I think it is certainly the case for most people that their language is likely to be sophisticated and mixed and international now. I don't see how we can escape that, except we would have to really try and control the way we spoke. And I think the thing to aim for is to speak unself-consciously.
Well, you're obviously very interested in metamorphosis, not only the transformation of language, but in metamorphosis in general. You're pretty obsessed by it. Does this mean you're an ongoing metamorphosis yourself?
Well, again, I'd be sort of surprised if everyone wasn't. I think a lot certainly has changed for me in the past. Forever.
What day of the week, child, are you?
I can't actually remember. I think I might be a Friday, but
I thought Tuesday or Friday.
Is that right?
Yes.
I mean, I remember when I was little, my sister and I were both given as a present a mug. With the rhyme relating to each of us on it, and I remember being very fascinated by that. But I think in terms of that poem, what most interests me is the way that children are so full of magical power in a way. They still possess their magical powers, and then we kind of gradually lose them as we get self-conscious, I think. So. And some of that seems very dark in a way. I've been doing a lot of creative writing courses, both with adults and with young people, and just spending 4.5 days with a bunch of school kids and cooking with them and speaking to them about poetry. You see all that power and potency in a way that's both funny and disturbing and creepy all at once.
Niels just said that poetry can be everything. You can be epic in 3 lines. Your collection is as rich as the sea, actually. You change form constantly, variety and subjects as well. In forms, you use praise poems, love poems, charms and fables. Are you a greedy character? Rather and than or?
Definitely and, but...
Just be honest. We're amongst us.
I'm just trying to think about it. I think I have a very short memory, really, and a very short attention span in terms of what I'm trying to make. So I envy and admire very much the poets that concentrate on one form and internalize it and almost learn that as a language, so that they can write fluently in a particular form, a sonnet or whatever. I think that must be wonderful to... I was speaking to Han earlier about writing poems with a syllable count per line, and how it must be wonderful to do that so much that you don't have to count anymore and the words fall into that rhythmic shape. But I can't do that because things move on so quickly for me in a way. I wouldn't say I'm questing about for new forms, but I can't settle on the one for very long.
This is your 3rd collection, and the first after having won the the T.S. Eliot Prize, probably the most important poetry prize in English, probably. There are 6 years in between those 2 collections. Did you feel like paralyzed, too much, too afraid to have to put up with the expectations, or were you just too busy with other activities?
Well, I've certainly had a lot going on, but one of the pictures up in the screen was of a porcelain limpet. I don't know if you remember that one, with a light underneath it in a kind of a shed. And I got distracted with a project making maybe 100 limpets out of porcelain. I really like limpets, but expectation and pressure. Certainly, I found that quite difficult because I like to have some privacy to write in. And I like to write as if no one is going to read it. And it's a bit of a shock to work like that and then have people listen and read what you say. It's quite exposing, and you know, it's been quite a wonderful experience, but also quite peeling, you know.
But one of the things that kept you busy was writing librettos. You wrote librettos for a Belgian music theatre, Transparant. So it's all our fault, actually, that it took you six years.
I am a slow writer.
Okay.
And I'm not one of those poets who feels like they need to produce a book every year or every 2 years. And that's just as well, because I'm not sure that the UK market, at least, has such a hunger for a book every 2 years. But as much as anything, it's more important for me to be living, and you know, backing up a lot of experience to digest and process and eventually write about. But I don't want to be continually stopping and writing as it happens. You know. It's nice if life comes first.
Well, you're obviously very talented and versatile. You write librettos as well, so you're good at music. You make your own art, which visualize your poetry. It all belongs together in one way or the other. You're a very good poet. Is there something you're not good at that would be like, you want to share with us? Because we need to go to bed now, and we're very jealous, and would be very comforting that there's something you are not good at.
There would be more things that I'm bad at.
Okay.
I would think,
like
everyone. I'm rubbish with numbers. All numbers look the same to me. Talking, as I say, is very challenging for me. Oh my goodness, such a list of things.
Oh, we have time. No. I would very much like to thank you for coming to Rotterdam, being with us, and share your poetry, which is just lovely. Thank you.
Thank you.
En ik wil ook natuurlijk jullie, mijn geliefd publiek, bedanken voor jullie aandacht en voor deze mooie avond met ons te zijn. Geef ze nog eens alle twee een heel warm applaus alsjeblieft. Niels Christian Moe-Repstad en Jen Hadfield. En morgen gewoon terugkomen. Er is hier van alles te doen weer. Een heel spannend programma. Zelf ben ik in Antwerpen morgen op Felix Poetry Festival. Ook heel spannend natuurlijk. Graag tot de volgende keer.